Here we're talking with John Roberts, who on Vam World is also known as Vam Picker. John is doing his 5 in 5 interview, and we'll start off with the first question, John. When did you become a Vammer?
I think I started in with Morgan Dollars, and I had an interest in the series, and like anything else, I look a little too close at everything. And looking a little too close, I started to notice some unusual characteristics on coins I already owned. Because I need to know what I'm looking at, researched a little further and found a book called The Comprehensive Catalog and Encyclopedia of Morgan and Peace Dollars. A gentleman named Leroy Van Allen and another gentleman named George Mallis. And it kind of took off from there. One of the very earliest coins that I had collected for Morgan Dollars, I saw something unusual on it that wasn't in their book. It's what really cemented me as an interest in this field, because I need to know what I'm looking at. I did more research on it and just couldn't find anything that matched what I had. It was a 79 Philly dollar, and I wrote to Van Allen about this, and he wrote me back and said that he'd like to see the coin, so I sent the coin along to him, and it turned out to be a new discovery, my very first, and I've been addicted ever since. The funny thing about it is I was looking for something to do after I got out of the military, and my discovery letter is dated July 4th, 2000. For what I do today, that is my Independence Day.
Okay, and I guess that kind of leads into the second question, which is, what was the cause of your becoming a Vammer?
I kind of discussed the same thing, but it really is that tendency. I'm attracted to shiny metal objects to begin with, but once I have one in hand, I look at it much too closely. It's a natural occurrence. It's just my nature. It's who I am.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Vam memory, or several?
I have a couple of favorite Vam memories. So I'm going to share them both. I've have a few discoveries behind me, but in 2001 or 2002, the person responsible for that very first G-Clash discovery on a 19040 Vam 28A. I thought it was cool. I put it in my collection, and if that's all that happened with it, it probably would be pretty obscure. But I happened to take that coin and show it to a fellow collector who is just absolutely fascinated by this coin. The person I showed it to is Dr. Mark Kimpton. My discovery piece, like I said, probably, I thought it was cool, but it's just another thing. Mark saw it and was absolutely fascinated by this coin and went on a just really what we know about clash die collecting today. It has its roots on him seeing that coin and being excited about it, far more so than I was. What that teaches me, what it has taught me over and over again, is the value of sharing what you know with another collector. You just have no idea what it'll cost.
A second?
A second one is, while Mark was doing his research for his book, The Elite Clash Morgan Dollars, we had the opportunity to go meet Leroy Van Allen in person. And we made the trip out to Sydney, and this is both before we had corresponded with Leroy and shared emails with him, but neither of us had ever met him in person. So we made the trip out to Sydney, and we're discussing our interesting clash varieties with him. And I went into a lengthy explanation about a particular 82cc Morgan dollar. It's what we now know today as AM2C. And I was explaining to him how these features occurred on the coin and all of this, and I must have talked for about 5 minutes about how this went on with this coin. And Leroy just politely listened to me, and when I was done talking, he said, "John, I've seen this before." A few years pass. I didn't get a listing out of this, and other people have since, but he wasn't all that impressed with the coin, and I wasn't sure why. A couple of years later, I stumbled across a copy of a Dollar Varieties and Error scrapbook. It's an anthology of writings in Aeroscope from the 1970s. There's that same coin in there in an article written by Leroy Van Allen. And it says, for lack of a better word, this is a counterclash. I had spent 5 minutes explaining a variety feature to the man that invented the word to describe it. All he said is, "I've seen this
I've seen that before, yes. Okay. Are you able to pick out a favorite VAM?
I'm partial to the CCs. I really love my 78 CCs. I'm kind of known for that. But really, nothing has had as much of an impact on my collecting as that very first discovery. It's always going to hold a special place in my heart, and it is the 79 VAM 41, the Wormeye. That is the source of my addiction.
Excellent, excellent. Advice for VAMers?
Talk to each other. You have no idea of what sharing information will do. You have no idea where it leads. Try to be civil. We can disagree about coins. We'll have differences of opinions about things. But we don't have to fight about it. We can argue. There's a difference.
Agree to disagree.
Civility goes a long, long way. So much of this business is who you know. People can know you. They don't like you. There's a price for that. And read and study. Probably the thing I'm most passionate about are date studies. Pick a date that you like and study the hell out of it. There's something to be said for knowing more about one particular facet of this hobby than anyone else does. I found my work with 78 cc's to be incredibly rewarding, and it dovetails into other stuff, and I'll work on other dates, and I've got other irons in the fire. I always do. But that work that I did with 78 cc's and the reaction that I've got from it, from the collectors, from dealers, it's just taken so much more respect from everyone involved. It's been such an incredibly rewarding experience. Maybe not financially rewarding, because I've got a lot invested in 78
Sure.
cc's. I mean, I happen to pick a date that's actually worth something.
Right.
What I've gotten is far beyond anything you can measure in dollar value. And then the thing is, once you're known for something like that, that stuff flows your way. So, I mean, that would be the biggest thing, is to pick something that you're genuinely interested in and study the hell out of it.
That's great. John, thank you very much.
Hey,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate you taking your time.
Thanks.